Hey everyone, this is Tom with Retro Relics, and today we are taking a look at a PlayStation 2 PSU which doesn't provide any power to the PlayStation 2. So this is one of the most common problems with PS2s. They just don't power on after so many years of service, and it's really because of one capacitor in particular. Could be multiple, but based in my experience and just talking with other people that repair PS2s, it really becomes a problem of one particular capacitor, which is C009, which is right here. So this small capacitor always seems to be the problem. So one of the things I mentioned in my previous video talking about disassembling a PlayStation 2 FAT, I had mentioned that it's just best practice and good preventive maintenance to replace these four capacitors here. So C009, C202, C203, and C206. So this is 202, this is 203, and this one here is 206. So we're gonna go ahead and replace those. But first, one of the things I wanted to show you is how I test the actual power board itself to make sure that it's not the fuse, which the fuse is right here, or there's something else going on with the board. So the first thing I like to do is get my multimeter. So multimeter is right here. I get this in continuity mode. So you know that when you hear the beeps. And one of the first things that I actually test is the fuse. And we have continuity, so that fuse is good. I have not seen this fuse actually go, but I have seen on other YouTube videos, as well as other people doing repairs, that it is possible that this fuse actually goes. The capacitors are fine. However, I would still replace the capacitors because these systems are well over 20 years old at this point, and it's just good preventive maintenance, like I said, to replace those capacitors. Now I'm going to show you the tests that I do to ensure that power is coming to the board. Now, if you're not comfortable doing this because you are working with live electricity, and the caveat here is that if this is something you are not comfortable with, do not attempt this, right? If you're not comfortable working with live power, obviously this can be very dangerous. So with that caveat, let's begin. So first of all, this is actually a working power board. And I wanted to demonstrate with that first, because then after this, I'll show you what it looks like with a power board that's bad. And so you can kind of see the difference. So again, good power board. So this one should actually power up. There's holes for where this power board sits into the PlayStation 2. There's actually a connector with 4 pins. I place the red lead into the leftmost one, and then I place the black lead into the rightmost one. And then I connect this to the power. I make sure that this is in the off position. When I turn the power on, you're gonna see the voltage on my multimeter go up. And that's essentially showing that the capacitors are building that voltage, and that's what we want to see. So let's go ahead and do that. Now you start seeing the multimeter is increasing in voltage. So with DC volts, you're at 11.75, which is about right in terms of 12 volts or close to 12 volts going out of the power board into the PlayStation 2. That's exactly what we want to see. And this tells me right here that this is a good power board and it will power up the PlayStation 2. Now, here's the other thing to note. So I turn this off. You will now start seeing the capacitors decrease in voltage, which is what you want to see. This is a good safety tip here because capacitors hold voltage, and you want to make sure that those capacitors are fully discharged until you actually go back and you touch the board and pick it up. So you can see it's been decreasing. We're almost at 0. So I usually wait until it's down to 0, and then it's safe to touch the board. And it's now at 0. Now, this is the bad board that we're going to test. So we're going to go ahead and disconnect the power. And then I'm going to place my red lead here, my black lead here, and then I'm going to plug this in. Now, we shouldn't see anything because this board is bad. Turn it on, and nothing. So again, this tells me that we have an issue with the capacitors because this board is not going to power on. Turn that off, unplug the board, and then unplug my leads. So the next step is to replace these capacitors. So I'm not going to go through all the details on how to replace capacitors. There are 1,000,001 videos on YouTube that tell you how to do that, but I will time lapse this and show you how I replace these capacitors, and then we'll finish the video up by testing it to make sure that the capacitors are working and this board is ready to install in a PS2 FAT. So you can see my Hacko 301 here made good work of desoldering these capacitors. I love this thing. This has saved me so much time. It was a little expensive, but it is worth every penny because I used to be that guy that was using tons of desoldering wick and just spending tons of time trying to desolder capacitors. It just works so quickly. It's amazing. So I highly recommend that because you could see how quickly I removed these capacitors, which was awesome. So next step is I'm just going to clean this up with some alcohol, and then we're going to put the new capacitors in. All right, so now before I begin soldering these capacitors in, let's go through the capacitors that I will be replacing and the specs on those capacitors. So this is C009. This is the one that I told you that is most commonly the problem. So C009, the original capacitor is a 35 volt, 27 microfarad capacitor. I'm replacing it with a 35 volt, 33 microfarad capacitor for C202. I'm going with the original, which is 16 volts, 1,000 microfarads, and you can see that written on here. Same thing with C203, which is 16 volts and 1,000 microfarads. And then C206 is going to be a 16 volt, 220 microfarads. Those are the exact same specs as the original. The only one that's a little bit different is the C009, but does have the same voltage, which is the rule. So now I'm going to go ahead and start to put the new capacitors in. One of the things to remember is always align the negative stripe with the negative side on the board. So here it's always facing left, positive on the right. All right, we are back, and now that we've replaced the capacitors, let's go ahead and test this power board to make sure that we are now getting power to the PS2. And you can see right here, we've got 11.78 volts. This is in the right range, which means that the capacitor replacement was successful. So now we can take this power board and we can put it into a PS2 FAT and it will power on. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe, share it with your friends. Much appreciated. We'll have many more videos of repairs, disassembly, assembly, and I'm even looking at doing maybe some interviews with other YouTubers, other people that I know that repair consoles. You might find that interesting as well, but thanks for watching and we'll see you next time.